The more that my dad related this memory, the more intrigued I became by the line, "They just bombed the Pentagon." Every time he said it, I recalled thinking, "They? Who are they?" The US immediately divided the world into us and them. Everyone was either with us or against us, as President Bush so memorably remarked while the rubble was still smoldering. People in my neighborhood put up new US flags as if to show which side they had chosen. They hoarded red, white, blue Dixie cups and stuffed them through every chain link fence or every overpass of every highway between my mother's house and my father's, to spell out phrases such as "United we stand" and "Stand together, never forget." I used to go to a shooting range alongside the old targets, the bullseyes and the silhouettes. They were now effigies of men in Arab headers. The guns that had languished for years behind the dusty glass of display cases were now marked "sold." Americans lined up to buy mobile phones, hoping for advance warning of the next attack or at least ability to say goodbye from a hijacked flight. Nearly 100,000 spies returned to work at the agencies with the knowledge that they had failed at their one and only job, which was protecting the U.S. Think of the guilt they were feeling. Just think. They had the same anger as everybody else, but they also felt the guilt. An assessment of their mistakes could wait, but what mattered most at that moment was they redeemed themselves. Meanwhile, their bosses got busy campaigning for extraordinary budgets and extraordinary powers, leveraging the threat of terror to expand their capabilities and mandates beyond the imagination, not just the public, but those who stamped the approvals. The day after September 11 was the first day of a new era, which the U.S. faced with a unified resolve strengthened by a revived sense of patriotism, and the goodwill and sympathy of the world. In retrospect, my country could have done so much with this opportunity. It could have treated terror not as a theological phenomenon it purported to be, but as the crime it was. It could have used the rare movement of solidarity to reinforce democratic values and cultivate resilience in the now connected global public. Ahead, it went to war. The greatest regret of my life is my reflexive, unquestioning support for that decision. I was outraged, yes, but that was only the beginning of a process in which my heart completely defeated my rational judgment. I accepted all the claims retailed by the media as facts, and I repeated them as if I were begging. I were being paid for it. Sorry. I wanted to be a liberator. I wanted to free the oppressed. I embraced the truth constructed by the good of the state, which is my passion I confused with the good of the country. It was as if whatever individual politics I had developed and crushed, the anti-institutional hacker ethos. Once again, the anti-institutional hacker ethos is spirit or culture, installed in me online, and a political patriotism I had inherited from my parents were wiped from my system. And I had been rebooted as a willing vehicle of vengeance. The sharpest part of the humiliation comes from acknowledging how easy this transformation was and how rapidly it whelmed me. No, it welcomed me, sorry. I wanted, I think, to be part of something. Prior to 9/11, I had been ambivalent about serving. Ambivalent is mixed feelings. I was ambivalent about serving because it had seemed pointless or just boring. Everyone I knew who had served had gone. So in the post Cold War world order between the fall of Berlin Wall and attacks of 2001. In that span, which coincided with my youth, the US lacked for enemies. The country I grew up, it was sole global superpower, and everything seemed, at least to me or to people like me, prosperous and settled. There were no new frontiers to conquer or great civic problems to solve except online. The attackers of 9/11 charged, changed all that, sorry. Now finally there was a fight. My options dismayed me, however. I thought I could best serve my country behind a terminal. But top a normal IT job seemed too comfortable and safe for the new world of asymmetric conflict. I hope I could do something like in the movies or in the TV, those we hacker scenes with walls of viruses warning, uh, blink lights, tracking enemies, and thwarting. Thwarting is the word is thwart. And thwarting their schemes. Unfortunately for me, the primary agencies that did that, the NSA and the CIA, had their hiding requirements written a half century earlier and often rigidly required a traditional school degree, meaning that although the tech industry considered my community college credits and Microsoft certified solutions expert certification acceptable, the government would not. The more I read around online, however, the more I realize that the post 9/11 world was a world of exceptions. The agencies were growing so much and so quickly, especially in the technical side, that they would sometimes waive the degree requirement for military veterans. It was then that I decided to join up. You must be thinking that my decision made sense or was inevitable, given my family's record of service. But it didn't, and it wasn't. My enlisting, I was as much rebelling against that well established legacy as I was conforming to it. Because after talking to recruiters from every branch, I decided to join the Army, whose leadership some in my Coast Guard family had always considered the crazy uncle of the US military. When I told my mother, she cried for days. I knew better than to tell my father, who had already made it very clear during hypothetical discussions that it would be wasting my technical talent there. I was 20 years, I knew I was what I was doing. The day I left, I wrote my father a letter, handwritten, not typed, that explained my decision and slipped it under the front door of his apartment. It closed with a statement that still makes me wince. I am sorry, Dad, I wrote, but this is vital for my personal growth. Chalier, so let's discuss a little bit of what we read so far. He acts like a very normal, regular kid. People, those who were full of vengeance after 9/11, and obviously everybody was looking to contribute in some way. So his emotions are pretty reasonable as far as what we are reading. He comes from a broken family. You know, his mother lives elsewhere and his dad lives elsewhere, but all of them are employed with the government. And in some manner, he grew up in that secretive world where he knew how to keep secrets, but he also knew what secrets are. and he also knew, you know, how to train oneself into tapping into those secrets. So this is the gentleman who basically I would read his entire book. Or maybe parts of this book to understand more about him because I didn't follow him when he was uh, basically targeted and basically chased, and basically he left the country. Although I remember John Kerry, Senator John Kerry, once said it on television that he should come back as a young American and be part of the mainstream again. And a lot of people said he didn't know much, and there wasn't much to worry about, and he didn't had much, and even if he disclosed what he disclosed, that was all common sense, and that small math, any other agency, any other sister agency, or any other counter agency could do it on their own. So he basically didn't had nothing. So other than just speaking out on and commenting on what's already in the show, what do you call it, the mainstream media, there was nothing more that he could really harm with any information that he could have provided to Russians, and he didn't. So we will read more about him, but so far what we have read looks like emotions of a regular young fellow. Nothing more to it, and it doesn't. We will read more down the line in his excerpts and his memoirs to see if something down there can make us more sense. But right now, what we have read is nothing special. It's all a young person's upbringing, and in the manner he's flirting with another woman, and then he's trying to avenge the 9/11. He's disturbed as everybody else is, and he's alleging U.S. in the beginning to have mixed up between Al Qaeda and Taliban, other forces, and he has commented a little bit about the falsification of MWDs, but nothing in concrete. So nothing that we can really chew on as to what he said that could give us any enlightening information. Well, whenever I get to his excerpts or memoirs, or whenever the Guardian reports, or maybe we should buy a book and read it. But I need people to read with me. I myself can't do it. I've been advocating a book club for a long time, but there aren't people around who are supporting me. So I started on my own. But anyway, if there are people, those who are listening to me, and they want to form a book club, I would love to. We will all, bifurcate or divide the sections. We can all read and load it up and discuss these. Books and scenarios and personalities, and it gives them more opportunity to be a wholesome citizen, wholesome person, wholesome human being. Remember my word that I'm going to say: one day all of these conflicts will end. One day humanity will come to a conclusion that we are one people, and one day all of these national prides, all of these secrecy, all of this will just go away, and human will be free. And when we will look back onto these incidents, wars, secretive wars, espionage, buying of each other's whistleblowers, all of this will look like a thing of the past. But we have to look into these so that we can grow. The idea is to grow, to reach that point where we can acknowledge and relish that feeling that we are one people, and everyone's character matters. Every bad memory matters. Every mishap matters, because that's what teaches us the most. In a simpler and no challenge life, you learn nothing. So this is a wonderful read. We will see if I can get a hand on that book. But if some people want to join me in this effort, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Sat Sri Akal. Bye bye.